Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday, October 26, 2022. This is our regular council meeting. I'd like to start off by acknowledging that we're meeting on the traditional lands of Acadia First Nation, part of Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Could we all stand for the playing of O Canada, please? Thank you, everyone. One thing to note, Councillor Patty Durkee and Councillor Lauren Cushing are absent with regret, so could you please note that in the minutes, please? Item number 5, approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda as circulated? Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Do you want me to make a motion that we add update on veterans banners to the agenda?
Yes, you may. So there's a motion on the floor to add Veterans Banners update to the agenda. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any discussion on that? Saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Is there any other additions or deletions to the agenda as circulated? If not, I'd entertain a motion to...
Where are you putting the veterans banners on the agenda? Maybe under old business?
Yeah, absolutely. It should be under old business item 8.3. My apologies, I did not ask that question. All right, is there any other additions or deletions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Councillor Daniel Allen.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right, motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sherry Hurlbert. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item number 6, if there's any declarations of conflict of interest, please notify me and I'll make sure that that is noted in the council minutes if that item should come up. Item number 7, approval of the minutes. Councillor Daniel Allen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of September 8th, 2022, Committee of the Whole, September 19th, 2022, Special Council, and September 28th, 2022, Regular Council.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Nick Hilton. Motion on the floor to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Moving on, item number 8, old business, request for decision, the Hebron Business Park promotional project. Madam CAO, you wish to speak on that? You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in your package, Council, there is a request for decision. For the last couple of years, the municipality has received funding from the federal government through CanExport to create the tools we need to promote the business park, primarily for investment outside of Nova Scotia, although, you know, the business park is absolutely there for businesses in Modi and in Nova Scotia as well. So we're at the stage of work now. So all the research was done. The value proposition was created. We identified which industries would work well in the park. We identified, what the target markets around the world were. And so now we're at the stage of the process where we're ready to basically become more visible to the world. So a website, a video, and some material that could be used to pitch to a prospective business looking at the park or site selector. And so procurement was done this summer to hire Mumford Connect Web Design to create the website, the marketing materials, and the video for the business park. And, part of their role is to position the business park using branding that aligns with the District of Yarmouth's branding to catch the attention of the world. And so in your package tonight is a recommendation from them, supported by myself, that we consider changing the name from the Hebron Business Park to Nova West Regional Business Park. And so the reasons for that are, again, to create more awareness of where we are based on our name that means something to the broader world. People around the world don't even know where Hebron is, but Nova Scotia, that seems to be more readily recognized. Challenges with using the two other options that were in the package are that those names are used in other parts of the world. So for example, in New England, they have a tri-county and a tri-state area. There is a Yarmouth in the United States, so it could be confusing for site selectors. So that's why of the three options that were presented, we're supporting the recommendation of Nova West Regional Business Park.
Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, you have the floor.
All right, given the good explanation of our CAO, I'll move that the Municipal District of Yarmouth change the name of the Hebron Business Park to Nova West Regional Business Park.
Okay, a motion on the floor, seconded by Councillor Nick Hilton. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 8.2, the NSFM final survey results. This is for an FYI. In your package, you have a 20-pager in there. I do believe that, if I remember correctly, that there was 39 of the municipalities that responded, which basically is 80% of the municipalities in Nova Scotia, not in the District of Yarmouth. So there's a whole bunch of good reading in there, and you can see the results as they tabulated them. Item 8.3, this is the addition to the agenda, Veterans Banners Update. Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just through you to the CAO, an update on the veterans banners. I know at the beginning of the week I had some inquiries, or end of last week, beginning of this week, some inquiries about the banners, and I do see in South Ohio, and I saw some social media posts that in Carleton they were up, so if we could just have an update on where those are. Thank you.
Sure, yep. So if they're not all installed, they will be just as soon as the weather allows. So the vendor started yesterday. I can't confirm if they're all installed, but just as a reminder, the program this year called for 10 banners in each of Carleton, Arcadia, South Ohio, and
Port Maitland.
Port Maitland. Yes, thank you, in Port Maitland. And then over the next 2 years, we'll add an additional 10 brackets in each of those 4 communities. So at the end of 3 years, there will be space for 120 banners. We did not sell all the spaces this year, but we knew that we were a little bit late getting across the line on this one. And so you'll note in some of the communities that there are banners that do have photographs of veterans, but then there are banners that say, "Lest we forget," or "Thank you for your service." And those are banners that can be installed where we might not sell space in a given year, so that over time, we do have the look, the placemaking look that we're looking for in our communities to recognize Remembrance Day. So if they're not finished as of today, they certainly will be just as soon as the weather will allow them to get up there and put them up.
Councillor Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Thank you. I lost my train of thought there, sorry about that. So will the banners be staying up a little bit later? Like, what is the expected date of taking them down, replacing
Yeah.
them?
So they were about 2 weeks late being put up because there were breakdowns with the equipment that the vendor was using. So we'll go a little bit longer. I mean, normally after November 11th, I guess there's a protocol that says, you take your poppy off and all that, but we're not going to be in a rush. We have ordered banners that will go on those brackets when the Veterans Day banners come down. So unless we get strong objection from the community, we'll likely leave the veterans banners in place until the winter theme banners come in. And when the vendor goes to take down the veterans banners, they'll just install a winter theme banner, and we'll continue with that placemaking energy on the banners season after season.
Great, thank you.
Any more questions or comments on that? I do have one comment. I traveled through Carlton about 4:30 today, and I did notice them up on the 340, and I did receive a message from a resident wondering if there's going to be any more put up. So I was going to ask to have, ask the CAO, not in a council setting, but privately, so I'm glad that that was put on the agenda to update everyone, so everyone gets the update rather than just me. Any more discussion on that item? Hearing none. Item number 9, new business, recommendations from Committee of the Whole, 9.1.1, Yarmouth Area Industrial Commission, transfer of port management and operations to the Port of Yarmouth Corporation, Inc. Councillor Nick Hilton, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make good on the recommendation from Committee of the Whole that the Municipality and District of Yarmouth move that we send a letter to the Yarmouth Area Industrial Commission Chair, Councillor Guy Surratt, that we have agreed to be a nominator for the Board of Directors of the contemplated Yarmouth Port Corporation, Inc.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9.1.2, Municipality of Yarmouth Leaders of Tomorrow Bursary. You all have that in your package. We had some discussion on there. What is the wishes of council? Councillor Daniel Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at our recommended motion. Would you like the amendments read, or would you just like a motion stating that, or is just a motion stating that the leaders of, that we've amended the Leaders of Tomorrow bursary?
Yes, Madam CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the version of the bursary program that's in your package includes all the amendments. So a motion to approve as presented probably would encapsulate it all.
Thank you. So I will make a motion to approve the Leaders of Tomorrow bursary program as amended, as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sherry Hurlbert. Is there any discussion on that motion? Councillor Daniel Allen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in case anyone didn't realize, we are going to change our bursary, and I think we are going to double the amount, am I correct? To $4,000 from $2,000 moving forward. So I just want to thank all of council, because I think this is really important for students that are looking to further education or go into trades, or, you know, anything they want to do to improve future. Yeah. So anyways, just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a few things that are in there. Some of the recommendations were to change the name to the Yarmouth Municipality Yarmouth Bursary, remove the language both of whom face financial barriers accessing post-secondary education, and correcting language in the first paragraph, and to add language at the end of the program, council shall, where there is less than 2 applicants from either the streams, fully award the bursaries each year. So those are some of the recommendations that were in there. So is there any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Question being called on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, council. Item 9.1.3, Parkland Dedication Policy, P-828-22. Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth approve Parkland Dedication Policy P-828-22.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Nick Hilton. Is there any discussion on that motion? Councillor Nick Hilton, you have the floor.
I think it would be a shame not to say a couple words on how great of a policy that this is bringing forward and the opportunities that it will create for nonprofit and for-profit organizations in the community looking to do better. So really excited about that, and thank you to the staff for pulling that together.
Any other comments? Hearing none, motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9.1.4, Council Technology Policy, T-084-20. You all have that in your package. What is the pleasure of council? Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make the motion that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth approve the council technology policy T-084-20 as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Nick Hilton. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9.1.5, Flag Policy F-046-21. What is the wishes of council? Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth approve flag policy F-046-21 as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any discussion on that motion? Councillor Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for the public's viewing, when we talked about this at Committee of the Whole, there are some significant, changes to the way that we, some additional days that we've added, and also that we are going to, I think we talked about using a calendar to, was that in there?
No, we haven't identified the standard
Okay,
calendar yet,
perfect.
and I think probably that will have to come back, Mr. Chair, through you to Councillor Hurlbert, have to come back for probably an amendment to the policy.
Okay, but as it stands now, we've added some things that 2 years ago we didn't have, so great moving forward. Thank you.
Any more discussion on that motion? Hearing none, motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9.1.6, Cost of Living Adjustment Policy, C-286-22. You all have that in your package. What is the pleasure of council? Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, you have the floor.
So I'll move that whereas the municipality district of Yarmouth values accountability of taxpayers' reliance on best information available to support decision-making, commitment to sustainable practices, health, wellness of our people, and whereas the MODI values being an employer of choice where staff are compensated appropriately and fairly, and whereas the MODI seeks to compensate elected officials fairly for the time and commitment made, and whereas the MODI seeks to mitigate known risks to the organization through good governance, and whereas global impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic have provided opportunities for learning and taking proactive approaches to governance and planning, therefore be it resolved that the MODI implement the cost of living adjustment policy, and further the cost of living adjustment policy C-286-22 be adopted.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Nick Hilton. Is there any discussion on that motion on the floor? I did have one point of clarification, and this goes directly to the CAO. Was this policy to be reviewed every year?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that amendment was made following committee of the whole, so in Part 4, it does read, "This policy shall be reviewed annually."
Okay, thank you. Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, you have the floor.
Right, I mean, I'd certainly like to thank our CAO and staff for doing their due diligence on this and working with council to come up with something that I think strikes the balance between, the pressures that employees feel, brought about by inflation and being able to control costs and so forth and not put the municipality at risk in terms of, having to look at some options that we don't want to look at in terms of, taxation rates and all those types of things. So anyway, I think it's wise that we look at it every year. We are kind of in a set of exceptional circumstances. I mean, obviously, inflation is far, far above the 3.5%, and apologize kind of to staff in advance, but the 3.5 is probably as far as any employer is really going to go, public employer, or maybe beyond. So, any event, hopefully the Bank of Canada can exercise some, fiscal policy where they raise the rates, and unfortunately that will hurt some people, but perhaps bring inflation under control, and our government can exercise monetary policy and maybe stop spending so much money, and that will also assist in bringing the inflation rate down. So those are the two tools we've got, and hopefully our federal partners use those so that we can get the inflation rate back to the 2% that we all hope for and can operate with easily. So those are my comments. Thanks.
Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I said at the Committee of the Whole, I support the policy in principle, but 3.1.3 with the maximum cost of living at 3.5 for me is just more than I think should be doable from the municipality, from a taxpayer's dollars. So I will be voting against this motion. Thank you.
Is there any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none. Question called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? A vote of 4-1. Motion is carried. Councillor Hurlbert, do you wish to have your name recorded? Yes, please. Thank you. Item 9.1.7, December 2022 Committee of the Whole and Regular Council Meeting Schedule. You all have that recommendation from Committee of the Whole in your package. What is the wishes of council? Councillor Nick Hilton, you have the floor.
I'd like to make a motion that we hold our December Committee of the Whole meeting on December the 14th at 2:30, followed by our regularly scheduled or a regular council meeting if needed.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9.1.8, surplus vehicle tender. You all have that in your package, and we had the discussion on this in the Committee of the Whole. What is the wishes of council? Councillor Nick Hilton, you have the floor.
I will move that the municipality and district of Yarmouth accept the offer on the 2008 Ford Escape by Doug Potter for $4,001 plus any applicable HST, the 2007 Ford F-150 with plow to be sold to James Francis for $1,565 plus any applicable HST, and the 2008 Chevy 3500 with plow to be sold to NR Used Equipment Sales for $10,250 plus HST, any applicable HST.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 9.2, appointment to the Audit Committee. You all have that in your package. Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, you have the floor.
Yes, I'll move that we extend the term of Dean Fuller for the Audit Committee until September 30th, 2024, for an additional essentially 2 years. And I'd just like to say that Dean's part of the Audit Committee, as am I, and he's done a stellar work, so certainly we'd be happy and pleased and lucky enough to have him back for a couple more years, so I'll move that.
Okay, a motion on the floor, seconded by Councillor Nick Hilton. Is there any discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. All right, moving on. Item number 10, correspondence. 10.1 for action. 10.1.1, correspondence to Minister Champagne from the municipality of the District of Guysborough. Madam CAO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in your package, Council, there are two pieces of correspondence. One is from the municipality of Guysborough to Premier Tim Houston, and the other is a copy of a letter that Premier Houston wrote to the Honorable Francois-Philippe Champagne, who's the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry with the federal government. And the correspondence is around what the telecommunication companies did not do in response to Hurricane Fiona. And so the municipality of Guysborough wrote to the Premier and thanked him for the work he did in writing to the federal minister and carbon copied all municipalities. And I'd suggest that if there's a desire on the part of council to continue to advocate for better cell service and better work on the part of telecommunications companies, that maybe we would write directly to the federal minister and we would carbon copy Premier Houston and Nova Scotia municipalities.
Deputy Warden, you have the floor.
I think it's a fantastic idea, and I'd like to thank certainly the municipality of Guysborough as well as Premier Tim Houston for taking action on this. And certainly I agree with our CEO's comments, so I'll move that the municipality of District of Yarmouth write the federal minister outlining our concern and our wishes to have him implement legislation that will favor residents being able to have the best telecommunications system and most responsive system that's possible in the event of storms or any other issue or sort of issue. When any issue arises, the infrastructure should be such that it's able to support continued use.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Any discussion on that motion? Before I call a question, I will have to say that I'm going to go back to when we were talking about fiber op and installation and stuff. We were complaining about cellular service then, and we're still complaining and outlining the deficiencies that the cellular service not only in the province of Nova Scotia, but all over Canada. This is something that needs to be addressed and needs to be addressed as soon as possible. I can't say that enough. I've been questioned by this almost daily by residents all across the municipality and outside. Municipality of Argyle, where I happen to work, so it's an issue everywhere. It always has been, and until we have some action on this, we need it as soon as possible. Is there any more discussion on the motion? I'm sorry, I did grab a seconder. That was Councillor Allen. Is there any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 10.1.2, invitation to the Yarmouth Consolidated Memorial High School Remembrance Day Ceremony. You all have that in your package, and I do believe
I'm going to be at Maple Grove at that time, so I won't see
Okay, is there any counselors that are able to attend? Counselor Hurlbert?
I'm able to attend the YCMHS on November the 10th.
Okay. I guess, do we need a motion in that regard, Madam CAO, or is that just notification? Because I do believe that they asked for notification.
So, Mr. Chair, I don't think a motion is required, but Jenny is quarterbacking the RSVP on that because there will be a processional. And so the high school is asking that the elected officials who are attending, that they know who's coming so they can line you up for the processional, so you'll walk in together. So if you can just let Jenny know, so she can let the school know.
And that's at 10:30.
We,
Okay. That one. Item 10.1.3, invitation to the Mariner Center and the Yarmouth Cenotaph Remembrance Day Ceremony. That one there, I attend the one at the Mariner Center, and the Yarmouth Cenotaph, if I do remember correctly, Councillor Lauren Cushion had mentioned that he was going to be attending that one as well. So those two are there. Is there any, was Ken Dennis, is he going to be contacted, and who's going to be attending those? Okay. Item 10.1.4, the Meadowfields Community School Remembrance Day Service,
which is the 9th, Mr. Chair.
which is the 9th.
Yeah.
Is there anyone able to attend that? That one there I cannot attend. So Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you're going to be attending that one? Thank you.
You have rates in your office, right?
And also one that is not in there would be the Carlton.
On the 11th at 10:30, right,
On the
Mr. Chair?
11th at 10:30. Is there anyone able to attend the one in Carlton? Councillor Hurlbert, you did it for me last year.
I've gone long before I was a councillor.
Absolutely you have. But I will be this time as warden attending the one in the Mariner Center, so thank you very much for that. That one slipped my mind when I seen those on there. That is, I do believe there's, I did get a call from Raymond Randall in regards to the one in Kemp. I have not been able to contact him, but I will be probably attending that one personally. Those are any others that anyone can think of, since we're talking about Remembrance Day services. I know this is a little messy, it's not on the agendas, but
It's all good.
it's all good.
So only other thing, Mr. Chair, is that the municipal clerk, Jenny, has ordered the wreaths, and so they're in her office, ready for pickup.
Yeah, I've already picked up one of them for Kemp. Councillor Hurlbert?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's also historically been one the Sunday before Remembrance Day at South Ohio, and I haven't been contacted for that, but I know I had ordered a wreath just in case from Jenny, so.
And if you do find out that they are having one, please contact me. I'd like to attend that one as well, if at all possible.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, Council. It's a very important day in Canadian history. It's important that we all get out and remember those who have fallen and sacrificed for our freedoms. Okay, moving on. Item 10.1.5, correspondence from the town of Yarmouth re the New Year's levy. You all have that in your package. What is the wishes of council? I think we should make a motion in regards to acknowledging that we have received this correspondence from the town in regards that they will be holding their own levy this year. But I will be making a suggestion after that. Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
So, yeah, I think that's sage advice, and I'll move that the municipality of District of Yarmouth write the town a letter just indicating that we're in receipt of their correspondence about the levy and the fact that they'll hold one independently this year.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Now, on that same subject, this got me to thinking in regards to the New Year's levy. Previous years, we had alternated and we had partnered with the town on holding New Year's levies. One year it was held in the town of Yarmouth, another year it was held in the municipality district of Yarmouth in our administration building. However, with all that said, I think this would be a perfect opportunity for council to hold New Year's levies all across the municipality district of Yarmouth, holding one every year in every district, or one in every district every year, alternating districts. So one year we could have it in Port Maitland or Carlton or Pygmies Point, Melbourne area. Another year we could have it in the Greenville Community Center. So I'm just wondering if council would be open that every year, when, instead of holding it here every year in the administration office, if we could hold it in a district alternating every year. What is council's thoughts on that? Councilor Sherry Hurlbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was actually going to ask what we do for levies, because since I've been a councillor, we haven't had a public one. So again, 2 years in a row, ripped off from another activity as a councillor. So it's exciting to know that you were thinking that we would hold them, and I think it's a great idea. I don't know from a logistics standpoint how difficult it is for staff to get it out there. On the surface, it doesn't seem that bad, but I like the idea.
Madam CEO?
So what we did when we partnered with the town, it would alternate at Town Hall and here, and we would just split the cost 50-50. But we always hired a caterer, because it is on New Year's Day. So, you know, from a logistical standpoint, we'll still hire a caterer. It'll be every year as opposed to every other year, and we won't be cost sharing. So, you know, there'll be more resources, but you'll be doing, I think, significant outreach.
Yeah, because the reason why I brought that up is because obviously if it's going to be held out in the farther districts of the municipality district of Yarmouth where we encompass, it would make it a lot easier for people who normally couldn't get out to town, traveling and stuff, so that would bring council closer to them. So that was just one of my thoughts. Councillor Allen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think it's a great idea. The only hiccup I really feel that I can see is how do we select which area of each of each of our.
So there are 7 districts, and I thought we would just start with District 1 and work our way through.
That's what, but whereabouts in District 1? How do you select whether it's in Kemp or whether it's, you know,
Oh,
like,
I see what you
like for
mean.
me, for District 2, like,
So
how do
there-
I select whether it's in Greenville, whether it's in Arcadia, whether it's in Pygmies Point?
So there are some metrics that will guide choosing a facility, because we do have to keep accessibility in mind. We probably want to keep parking in mind. We want to keep in mind, you know, is there a good volunteer network at that facility that can make sure the doors are unlocked and all those things. So there are some things that will help guide that decision. But, you know, I would just kind of suggest that we start somewhere, and, you know, I can definitely work with the counselor in each district, and we can look at what facilities are available. You know, I understand what the town is saying here. You know, we've been holding levies here and at Town Hall. Lots of our residents have transportation issues too, right? So I understand where they're coming from, and I understand what you're saying.
No. Other than that, now that you've pointed, you know, when we'll look at that kind of matrix, that'll help with the decision-making. So, thank you.
Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
So yeah, it seems reasonable, and we do have a very, very, large geographic area in municipality district of Yarmouth, so given all that, and given the conversation that's gone on, I'll move that the municipality of the district of Yarmouth begin a practice of having their annual New Year's levy in a different district, beginning with District 1 for 2023, and so on sequentially through District 7, and with the location to be determined by staff based on some of the metrics that our CEOs outlined in this meeting.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any discussion on that? I will say one thing before I call for the question. I think it's even though I brought it up, I think it's a fantastic idea. Yeah, pat yourself on the back. I usually don't do that, but as we all know, it's been a very difficult term in the first 2 years, and council's always looking for different ways of outreach on the previous years that I've been on council, and this is one way that we can make ourselves a little bit more accessible to people with transportation and mobility issues. I'm glad to hear that the CAO mentioned that there's a matrix that we must adhere to in regards to parking accessibility. So I think it's a good thing. It helps get council as a whole out and about in the community rather than holding all of our functions or most of our functions here at the Hebron Administration Office. However, that being said, it very well be when the district that this sits in very well may be chosen as one of the areas where we do have parking and accessibility and other things. So, yeah, I think it's as Councilor Hurlbert said, pat myself on the back, but I'm sure one of you was thinking the same thing as well, so, yeah. All right, is there any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 10.1.6, correspondence from the town of Yarmouth, reconsolidation discussions. You all have that in your package. What is the wishes of council? Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, you have the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we would respond to the letter indicating our receipt of the letter, and obviously the letter for those folks that are watching is indicating that the town of Yarmouth does not want to proceed with any additional conversation about consolidation, in the near future. So maybe that's a conversation we can have, later on with subsequent councils and so forth. But having said that, having moved that, I'm a little disappointed because, I mean, I think one of the reasons that I've always said that I think that consolidation is potentially a good thing, depending on what shape it took. I mean, there's the issue of taxation, there's the issue of electoral boundaries. All those things would have to be ironed out before you really knew even what it was going to look like, and before you could say you were for or not for. But I think one of the good things about consolidation would certainly be that you'd have fewer councillors, involved in decision making. And I think that would go a long way toward, in one unit, toward engendering, obviously getting a lot of, feelings and all those types of things and uncertainties out of the way. So for that reason, I'm a little bit disappointed that it's not going to take place. But having said that, or not potentially going to take place, I won't even say not going to take place. But there's no possibility of it taking place in the near future. But having said that, we have lots of business to transact with both them and Argyle, and we'll do our best moving forward as a council to work with our partners, because we've got a lot of important regional projects on the go. So those would be my comments.
Okay, there was a motion made. Do I have a seconder to that motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did make a motion at the start. Then he went into discussion, yes. Okay, you're seconded by Councillor Sherry Hurlbert. Is there any discussion on the motion on the floor? Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I appreciate the comments from Councillor Deputy Warden Cunningham. So I just wanted to say that I actually appreciate that the town wrote us this letter now, and so we know where we're standing. I think our doors are still open to the conversation at some point, and but at least we know where we're at right now, and for now we're going to look forward to taking care of the municipality and building it bigger and better as the future comes.
Thank you very much. Any more discussion on that? Question being called on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 10.2, for your information, 10.2.1, Knights of Columbus Club Grant Report. Item 10.2.2, Yarmouth Memorial Monument Committee. Memorial Club Monument Committee 2022 Grant Report. Item 10.2.3, Yarmouth County Historical Society 2022 Grant Report. Item 10.2.4, Atlantic Provinces Summit on Basic Income. And item 10.2.5, Nova Scotia Community College Open House. You'll have that in your package. Councillor Hurlbert?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Shameless plug, I hope to see some of you tomorrow at the NSCC Open House. I'll be there most of the day, so if you can come out and to the public who are watching, if they, have a few spare minutes, they want to stop in, the doors will be open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Thank you very much. Moving on, item number 11, reports. Item 11.1, the CAO's report. You all have that in your package. Is there any questions or comments regarding that? Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the CAO, I'm reading under our legislative and strategic agenda, diversity, inclusion, equity, diversity, and inclusion, that we were hoping to have a presentation at Committee of the Whole in October. Do you have an update on that for us?
I do. So we had sent some of the draft material out to some community partners for some feedback, and we just got a couple of responses back this week. So Jenny, Darlene, and I actually have a meeting on the books week after next to sit down and look at the material, try to aggregate it, and bring draft material back to council to take that to the next step.
Okay, perfect. And just for the public who are watching, when you read the CAO report, we're doing a lot of things, a lot of good things, and I guess we can't not mention the Mariner Center expansion funding that was announced last week, so that's exciting news for everyone in the region.
Any more comments? Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, you have the floor.
Yeah, because the Mariner Center announcement such a large one, I would agree with Councillor Hurlbert. It definitely deserves mention. And anyway, I was at the announcement, and it was really quite good. The federal and provincial politicians were all there, and a lot of the councillors from the area. But what I will say is, no matter politician or non-politician, people had the biggest smiles on that I've seen for quite some time, so that would be my observation. So I think it's just an awesome announcement, and I really do think it will place our region, well to move forward and to grow in population and health and all those other things. So just think it's fantastic. One of the other big things that's going on, I'll ask a question, is the FedEx building's been completed, I think, in the business park, or very near completion. So I can say, perhaps, are you at liberty, or are you able to, do you know when that may open formally, or do you have any idea about?
No, I don't know when we're going to start to see trucks coming and going out of there. I did meet with the developer last week, and I understand that he's met the conditions of his lease with FedEx. So we're on track to see wheels rolling anytime.
Right. And we had a planning advisory committee meeting last week.
Yep.
Yes, last week. Yeah, I'm getting my weeks mixed. And we've got an upcoming meeting where we'll talk about, where certainly the MPS and land use bylaw, municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw is in terms of its revisions and so forth. So looking forward to all that work. It's been a long process, but it will eventually bear fruit for the municipality and position as well to move forward. So thank you very much for all that.
Any more questions, comments on the CAO's report? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the report as presented. Moved by Councillor Nick Hilton, seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen to accept the report as presented. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. Item 11.2, you have my report in there, and once again, I also pointed out the Mariner Center expansion funding announcement. The federal government, $15.9 million The province of Nova Scotia, $4 million, and the three partnering municipal units contributed $10 million. I did not list, as I normally do, all the meetings and functions that I've attended, but I've been extremely busy, as you all know. One thing that I should and need to point out is on October 20th, I attended the Yarmouth Area Chamber of Commerce Business Awards, and I'd like to congratulate our very own councillor, Nick Hilton, for winning one of these rewards, and it's a commitment to volunteering in our community. We all know that Councillor Nick Hilton is out and about in different organizations, and on behalf of the residents of the Municipality District of Yarmouth, I'd like to congratulate Councillor Nick Hilton for receiving this award. As you also stated, you don't do it to get the recognition, but every once in a while, it's certainly nice. And I also want to point out that it was very nice of you to point out all the other nominees and mentioning them in your speech when you accepted the award. So thank you very much, Nick, and everyone is deserving of an award like that, and especially you for all the work that you've done. So thank you very much. Okay, that's my report. Moving on to legal entities. You all have in there everything from the Mariner Center to the Western Wren. Is there any verbal reports? I do know there's some written reports in there. Anyone have anything to report on that? Hearing none. Advisory committees. Everything from audit, accessibility, CAO, doctor recruitment, REMO, Heritage, Joint Green Energy, Joint Police, PAC. Is there any? Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
Councillor Durkee's not here this evening, but if she were, she'd be glad to hear just an anecdotal piece of information I came across around doctor recruitment and retention anyway. I happened to run into somebody in the city that I didn't know and struck up a conversation with them, and this person just gushed about the efforts that our doctor recruitment team's making in Yarmouth, and they were related to one of the docs and so forth that have come through Yarmouth recently, and said that couldn't imagine anybody being better cared for or better assisted in the community. So that's a true story that's kind of struck a chord with me, and thought I'd bring it up here. So they're doing an excellent job, and in a tough and challenging doctor recruitment environment, but that's good news. So, and again, I've commented on the Planning Advisory Committee previously, and there's a report linked to the agenda.
Thank you. Any more? Madam CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would like to, just for the public record, indicate that the Yarmouth Recreation Committee does have a public survey circulating right now. They're endeavoring to develop a strategic plan for recreation in the town and municipality of Yarmouth. And so you can find a link to that survey on Yarmouth Recreation's Facebook page. We have shared it on our Facebook page.
And I've also shared it to my warden's, John Cunningham's page as well, the minute I seen that come up, and I completed it. Any more reports for advisory committees? Moving on, item 11.5, ad hoc, Manor Center Expansion Committee, and Defense Arbitration. You all have in that package a press release and a nice picture of Minister MP Sean Fraser, our very own Deputy Speaker of the House, Chris D'Entremont, our MLAs, Colton LeBlanc and Zach Churchill, and myself, the Mayor Pam Mood, Warden Danny Muse, and the Chair of the Mariner Center Expansion Committee, Nicole Albright's in there. So we also got a picture of all that attended, along with Modi staff as well. So I believe that was posted on Facebook, was it not? Yeah, it was. So that's some very good news, and I can't wait to get started and shovels in the ground, as Councillor Allen had mentioned. Let's see shovels in the ground. Councillor Allen?
I just want to say that it just shows the commitment of our municipality along with the town of Yarmouth and the municipality of Argyle to work towards the application process and working through this to apply for this money and eventually receive it. I think it's been a great job by all three of us. This is going to be huge for this end of the province, and I'm super excited about this. Super excited. If I'm available when they open it, I'll put on the shorts and I'll get in the pool.
Thank you very much, Councillor Allen. And one thing that was pointed out there, that it was great to see that all different political parties and people from different thoughts and beliefs and political stripes all work together to make this a reality. So it's a good news story, and I can't wait to get started. So, moving on, item number 12, in camera. I need a motion to go into camera. Moved by Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Motion on the floor to go into camera. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.